Beans.
Legumes.
Pulses?
Pulses? Here are our top 5 dry legumes that we keep in the pantry at all times.
Let's do it. Hey everybody, this is Dylan.
And this is Reeves.
We are here today. Beans are what bring us together today.
They sure are. Who calls them pulses?
I don't understand. Is pulses all beans?
But beans are starches.
Beans are starches.
And one of our favorite.
You
know, everyone puts the potato up on a pedestal, but I think beans are a little better.
Wow.
They are.
Wow.
The second lentil
I did not see that coming, y'all. Potatoes are one of Reeves' favorite things. For her to talk like that is
I'm just
awful
saying,
blasphemous.
nutritionally speaking, aren't beans a little better? The second lentil effect and all that jazz.
Oh,
They're
you
one
mean
of the
like
healthiest.
No, I'm not ranking them. It's potatoes, beans, and whole grains. I'm not ranking them. They're all delicious and magical, but we're here today to talk about beans.
Well, that's funny because we've ranked these.
They're not ranked. They're stacked. Should we get to talking about our top 5 list of pantry beans?
Yeah, pantry beans.
Number 1.
Garbanzo beans.
You have got to have those dry chickpeas up in the pantry. Let me explain why. First, you can make your own chickpeas. It's so cheap to make your own chickpeas if you want to save a little cash.
I need these on hand for falafel. You can't make falafel without the raw chickpeas.
Our falafel video was incredibly popular. You'll want to check that out right up here. But you've got to use your own chickpeas that you've soaked overnight to make the falafel just right. You can't use the canned stuff. They got to be the raw ones because you're going to cook them in the oven after.
And that is the hardest part of the recipe, which is not hard. It's just remember to do it overnight and you're good to go. If you're making them yourself, it's a lot cheaper to cook them from dry, and then you can make your own hummus or whatever.
I can them in jars with my pressure canner, but you know, that's a bit extra. Number 2, regular old lentils. You can call them green or brown lentils. They're the same to me. No, but they do last a long time. Another great thing about dried beans is you can leave them in the pantry for quite some time. Buy them in bulk. We buy them in 25-pound bags, and I leave them in a food grade white bucket with a screw-on lid, and we're just restocking our jars from there. Why do you like lentils?
Because they're so tasty.
We use them in a lot of recipes.
I usually just make a whole pot of them and keep them in the fridge all week long and just scoop some on my salad or whatever. They're so tasty. They barely need any spicing or anything.
Lentils is one of those things where you can just cook these up and just eat them plain with nothing, and they're just so good. Yeah, you could add a little bit of something to give them a little flavor. You could cook them with veggie stock instead of water. I love to cook them like pasta. That's how I cook lentils. 17 minutes in a big pot of boiling water, and then strain out the water, and they're ready to go. You can make a whole week's worth at a time. You cannot go wrong with keeping lentils.
We just used the green lentils in a lentil mango salad, which was very unique.
And we use them in our meatloaf bites that are up on YouTube, so check that out. Number 3, red lentils.
Red lentils. You would think that they're very similar, but they are quite different.
They're super different. Red lentils are great for thickening things. Once you cook these, they just cook into a mush. You don't want, with a lentil, you expect to actually, a regular lentil, you expect to have a lentil-y texture.
A whole bean.
A whole bean, there you go. With these, they just turn into mush, which is why I love them so much. You can make those flatbreads out of them that we've made with the red lentil flatbreads.
Tic-tac tortillas.
Those are not what I'm talking about though, with them cooking into a mush, but in my starch blaster, I always use a half a cup of red lentils, and they just thicken it up into a nice stewy consistency. They're perfect.
If you're making a stew and you look at it and you're like, oops, too watery, throw a handful in, it's gonna save your dish.
They don't take very long to cook, especially in an Instant Pot. They're very fast. They're a must-have always in the pantry. I've never spent a day without having lentils in stock since I started eating healthy. Number 4. This is green split peas, or you could do yellow split peas. They do the same thing as a red lentil, but it takes much longer to get there, to turn into the mush. Take these green lentils, throw them in your Instant Pot or on a big pot of soup pot on the stove with a chopped onion and celery and carrots maybe, optional. Or you can just use the dehydrated veggie mix that I use in my starch blaster. You can get this on Amazon or wherever, and it's got carrots and celery and onions and tomato and parsley, this particular one. Throw that in with the split peas and some garlic and pepper, and you're just, boom, split pea soup in no time, no prep required.
You don't make that often enough then.
I don't. Now split peas can give you a little gas sometimes, but beans aren't are a musical fruit. Yes, I would be happy to make you a split pea soup. Also good with chunks of potato in there.
Ooh.
So this is probably, like you said, this is not one that you use very often, but it is one that I always have in my starch blaster. 100% of the time, it's a requirement for me. I just love the green split pea. Number 5. These are the dry version of black beans and pinto beans.
We did feature both of these beans together in our canned food video, but I think it is essential to also have them dry.
Why?
Because they are so good and easy to put in the Instant Pot and make refried beans from scratch.
You can use either the black beans or the pinto beans in our refried bean recipe from our nacho video. Do check that out. No soak necessary. Just throw them in, turn it on. Everything is right there in the recipe for you. So simple to throw these together into a nice refried beans. I remember once in preschool, I accidentally, you play with beans like in preschool and counting and stuff, and I accidentally swallowed a dried pinto bean, and I was terrified the rest of the day that I was gonna die.
Wow, did you think it was gonna grow a plant in your stomach?
I don't know what I thought. The texture on pinto beans is so interesting that I think I just thought I was eating some sort of man-made poison object somehow. But I was only a few years old. My mom told me, don't worry, you'll just poop it out. Thanks, Mom. Resistant starches. Bonus number 1.
Soy curls.
These are the Butler Foods soy curls. I buy them in bulk right off of their website, the manufacturer's Butler website. These are soybeans.
They are. I was wondering if they're a bean.
They are soybeans. They're a whole soybean. There are higher fat content in soybean compared to all the other beans we've talked about. So some people, for that reason, avoid the soybean.
But how is this a soybean? Explain.
I don't know how they process it, but my understanding is that these are completely whole, whereas a textured vegetable protein or soy chunks, some places call them, those are usually a very processed food where the fat, it's been defatted, and you're only left with like the protein. It's been decarbed too.
Okay.
And so that is, people like that for the texture, but you can get that texture here too. You can soak these, and then they'll be nice and sort of chewy, and then you can pulse them in your food processor, and you'll get the same texture as you get from textured vegetable protein, except now you have it in a whole food where nothing's been removed. That is very important to me. I think it should be important to you too.
Essential for our nacho meat.
Essential for nacho meat, essential for our baked ziti, our Instant Pot ziti, it's essential. Lots of other dishes. I usually put about a half a cup in my starch blaster and break them up into little pieces, throw it in the starch blaster. I love it because it is richer, it's fattier, so it gives a good flavor. We got one more bonus, don't we?
Do we?
We got one more bonus. Bonus number 2. You just take all the beans we already talked about and you mix them together. You can buy this in bulk. Some places have it, it's like a 12 bean or a 13 or a 15 bean
soup or whatever.
It is really nice to have for when you've got no time. Just like I said with the split pea soup, all the same ingredients, and then you just throw these on the stove and just let it simmer for like several hours. If you're like, oh God, what am I gonna eat for lunch today or dinner? And you got no time, throw this, a whole bunch of water or veggie stock.
Maybe some canned tomatoes.
Heck yeah. And then some of this dehydrated veggie mix, and you've got a really tasty soup. These are really good. It's got the lentils, it's got everything we've talked about and then some, because we sure didn't talk about 15 beans.
Well, beat me up, Scotty. We sure talked about a lot of legumes today, hey Bill?
We sure did, and they're all worth having in your pantry. Click the link down below for Reebs' very fancy pantry list so you don't forget any of our favorite pantry ingredients, staples.
You got it.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
See you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.